That's bad. That's bad.
It's not where you thought it was going.
No,
But
not at
it
all.
arrived, and there it was. How are you this lovely evening, Dennis? Is this?
Well, I'm happy to say that I'm better. I'm better. I had a few rough days after the Academy
you were all
Awards.
snotty. Well, no,
it was emotional state. I found myself with some type of disorder where I felt like Chris Rock for a couple of days.
Yeah, I suppose we have to talk about that, don't we?
Well, yeah. I was watching it live when it occurred.
Were you?
And so I'm one of the multitudes. Some 15 million people watched it, which is second lowest ever, but better than last year's 9 million. And they had planned it to be so much more diverse, and it was incredibly diverse. And there were old people and Asian people, African Americans. The music was
Liza was there.
Latinx. It was just very thoughtful. And then to celebrate all of that, one black man gets up like he's king shit of the fucking world.
King Richard.
And in front of the Academy Awards, the entire group, including, by the way, Flash, Superman, the mighty Hulk was there.
The superheroes were all there.
They were all there. Certainly.
Fucking A. And they didn't do anything.
The actors who played them, and they all sat on their hands. He slaps them. They know it's real.
Right.
He's screaming at them.
Right.
Keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth. And Chris Rock says, "Hey man, it was just a G.I. Jane joke." And then he gets really loud and screams it and says, "I said, keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth." And the whole place shut down, and they let him sit there. And then a few minutes later, they gave him a standing ovation for Best Actor. And they were processing the moment. There was discussion about escorting him out of the hall.
Yeah.
Because he had assaulted someone, clearly.
Right.
With impunity in front of thousands of people and 15 million viewers, and didn't care. What kind of a person does that?
I
Except
agree.
someone who is deranged with narcissistic, just, I don't know what.
Okay, hold on. I'm sure narcissism has occurred at the Oscars before. But yes.
Not like this.
Right. Well, correct. I heard some discussion about how back in the 70s when a Native American woman got up to ask to not be treated like trash in Hollywood movies. From what I read, and have not corroborated this, apparently like John Wayne wanted to get up and slap her a new one, but was stopped by security, as anyone should be that tries to get up on stage to what the fuck. Yes, I agree. This was a bizarre moment, and
a travesty, actually.
What a way to destroy the best night of your life.
Well, he didn't destroy his life. He had a great time. He had a great time. He danced and he partied, and he and his wife posed for a picture that they posted that said, you just can't trust anybody out of Philly or Baltimore or wherever Chris Rock is from, acting like it was gang talk. His son tweets, "That's how we do it." And then at the party, he dances with his statue to his 3 greatest hits without a care in the world. My question is, I wonder how Chris Rock's doing. Where is he tonight? Partying somewhere? I don't think so.
Well, his upcoming tour has had ticket sales go through the roof because everyone wants to hear his side of the story. So I think Chris is doing okay. Was it a Look, if Will hadn't done that, Chris would have come out of this looking like the asshole of the evening.
For a moment, not any worse than anybody who tells a joke that doesn't hit right. It happens every year.
Yeah, okay, sure. But now he's totally exonerated, basically, for making a dumbass joke.
Well, I don't know that he's exonerated. That's
no, he's not exonerated, but he is the victim.
There's no attention on what Chris Rock said.
Exactly. So
big deal.
Now
G.I. Jane. And the other thing that nobody has said is that one of the reasons that he did that was she was dressed in like army green. Her dress, which was exquisite and just one of the most luxurious gowns I've ever seen, happened to be kind of army green. And that was the
how
other
much of
thing.
That is written like 3 nights before?
He didn't have that at rehearsal.
Okay.
That was added. The other thing that happened was that he said the word Macbeth. He named the theater in a theater, and people who know Shakespeare turned to each other and said, "This isn't going to end well for him." And 2 minutes later, true story.
Yeah.
He said Macbeth in a theater. This is going to be bad. A husband turns to his wife and says, "He said it. He said it in the theater." And who would have thought, well, what could happen at the Oscars? What could happen? Right. Oh, how about a guy sitting in the front row, gets up, walks over, strides, walks over to him, slaps him and turns his head with a loud thump, turns around, marches back to his seat, sits down, and starts swearing at him.
Right. Yeah. It's...
He's fucked. I'm never going to go see another fucking movie he does.
Never. Like
fucking bully.
The Oscars, like the Academy really should like revoke that win.
But I don't think they'll do that because the decision for him to receive the Oscar happened before the event.
Well, yeah, but no one's lost an award after they've been an asshole. No. I don't know.
No. They won't do that.
Well, right. The other problem is like then you how do you decide a second place, or do you give it to anyone? Yeah,
right.
Like, it always sort of sucks when like 10 years after someone wins the gold medal, the Olympics committee decides no, actually they were on performance enhancing drugs and like takes it away from them, and then like tries to like trickle down the medals to the other people. Like that sucks.
Yeah.
But, and then his whole like, man, I got to protect my family or whatever sort of bullshit was just gross.
Protect his family. Did you see how hard he was laughing when he made the joke?
That's the another thing is that he was laughing and then he glanced at his wife.
It was so funny. And then off camera,
right.
The next thing that happened that nobody has a picture of apparently was a look whatever look his wife gave him that turned him from a laughing about and realizing how much it hurt her, including him laughing, that he lost it. He had a mental breakdown. Anybody who would think that this is okay to get up and stride up, and don't tell me he didn't go up there knowing from the moment he got up out of his chair that he was going up there to slap him across the fucking face. That slap was the most studied. It was so studied that people thought it was choreographed.
Yes, I remember.
And there are pictures of him swinging full swing right, full swing left. Chris Rock with a look on his face like, whoa, where he's been hit.
Right.
Fucking assault.
Yeah, it certainly makes you question, it shouldn't be anyone's right to question how anyone's marriage is doing, but that particular union is...
Well, it's certainly got its unusual eccentricities driven by the main fact that we all know about it, as opposed to every other marriage in the world.
Correct, exactly. But it like, man, what a... Like, he's going to be remembered for that. For
this
and who's going to hire it? Like, he's going to be financially, he's going to be just fine. But I hope that whatever projects he had in the pipeline are in the same way that, like, they digitally replaced a bunch of, like, Kevin Spacey stuff when he got canceled.
Right.
That I think.
So imagine this. What would have happened if it was a woman presenter and he hit her?
Oh yeah, there's all and the different race combinations. What if it was Javier Bardem that got up and slapped him because he was joking with him just briefly earlier? If it was a white on black violence, if it was black on white violence, or if it was man on woman, the whole thing would have been totally different. But like, they just happen to be the same race and gender, which apparently made him think that was going to be okay.
Oh, hell. It was only Chris Rock.
Yeah, well, it by no means was Will thinking they're listening to Chris Rock, oh, this guy is smarter and cleverer and more important than I am. Of course not.
That's to say the least.
Nobody did. So, yeah, as you may recall,
Will Smith.
As you may recall, I recommended King Richard on this very show, and I watched the first part of it, but then did not finish it. But I also talked about and very much enjoyed the Best Picture winner, Coda.
Yes,
we talked about that.
I never did see it, but I sure am going to. That's the best acceptance speech I've ever seen, ever in my life.
Wow, I did not see that speech because no one could talk about any fucking thing else.
Well, but sucked up all the air in the room. Will.
It well, maybe he won't.
Anyway, disconcerting, and it was upsetting to me, and it affected my dream life for whatever reason. So it was disturbing.
Did you have nightmares about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or something, or what happened?
I can't remember anything specifically at this moment. I probably could have.
The Wild Wild West or Men in Black. That's the other joke. Is people like to are showing the picture of Will Smith holding up that little wand that erases your memory. It's like, yeah, we'd like to have one of those right about now to show the whole world.
Ugh.
Yeah, wow. I mean, look, people are fallible and people are assholes, and
yeah, well,
I mean, I'm not excusing his behavior by no means, nor would I say, oh yeah, if you talked about my wife like that, but also, I also like there was a whole bunch of people on Twitter and whatnot that were supporting his actions. That were like, yeah, you fucking talk about my wife like that? I don't care who's watching. And that sort of like masculinity, but also
like what? G.I. Jane? Like that's like the worst insult in the world.
No, I mean, well, first of all, so many of the people watching were not old enough to remember that reference.
Right.
But also, the argument from the other side is, look, you don't make fun of someone's medical condition.
Did he know
it? Well,
he should have.
How is that? How is that provable? But still.
Well, he'd say so.
Well, if he were making any public statements.
Why would he?
Or
he'd wait to his show, just like you said.
Right, exactly. Or would he, admit to knowing about it or not? Like who? No, I don't know. Maybe the rest of the audience was up to date on Jada's health.
Yeah,
but
I certainly didn't know anything about it. I thought she had shaved her hair, and I thought she looked glamorous with a shaved head.
Right. exactly.
I had no idea.
So, yeah, I mean, I think when you're up there on stage and you are told to mock the audience. So one interesting tidbit I have about this is I listened to a podcast where one of the co-hosts is Ricky Gervais.
Oh yeah, right. I have.
And
You sent me a.
And he is super famous for his, and they kept inviting him back like 4 or 5 times that he hosted the Golden Globes. And he talks about how he goes through, like he writes all the jokes. They're all written, and he practices them. And then he goes and he performs them for a team of lawyers from the network. And the lawyers are like, are there, and then like sometimes he makes a joke where the lawyers don't quite get it. Like in particular in his last one, he says he's not doing anymore. He was making fun of. He was mocking Helen Mirren for her role in the movie Cats, which apparently wasn't received very well.
Right.
But he said, yeah, Helen Mirren, she's perfect for the role of Cats because she likes to spend all her time licking her own minge. And the lawyers were like, wait, what does that mean? What is that word? And he explained, well, in Britain, it's a word for a woman's private parts. And they were like, do enough of our American audience know that word to be offended by that? And also, is there any implication that he's actually, accusing her of anything? And, anyway, and they let it through. But he talks about that process of, he thinks.
Did he say that at the Academy?
Yeah. No, at the Golden Globes. Yeah.
At the Golden Globes.
Yeah, that was in the set. And Helen Mirren sort of chuckled or whatever. She's British, of course, so she understood. And it's, but it goes to how he's thought through all the possible implications. And also, like Chris Rock, when you're in that room, the rule about, you should only punch up in comedy. Dude, if you're on stage and the rest of Hollywood is there, you are punching up if you're making fun of anyone in the audience. And so that's also true, but also like he goes through and figures out, could this possibly be offensive? Is there any way that this could be offensive? And if so, how? And if it is, then I will cut it.
Offensive can't be the test.
It has to be offensive and true. Because you can make fun of the big growth on my forehead, but if I actually had a big growth on my forehead, that would be upsetting.
Wait a minute. Hey.
So I'm just saying.
Hey.
Yes. Psst. You there?
Just you do have a.
Was it throbbing when I said that?
It was turning blue.
Yeah. So exactly.
You get mad like that, it pulses.
So if you're making fun of someone that has a limp and you are mocking their limp, that is not okay. But if you're making fun of someone that has a limp and you say that they
lisp,
I was almost went with lisp, but yeah, if you say that they drink too much, but they clearly obviously don't or whatever, I don't know. Like you can say funny lies about people, but you can't.
Well, I've heard everything Ricky Gervais has ever said in these Golden Globes, and they are outrageous, and they are the G.I. Jane doesn't even come close. It's not even in the same game. Ricky Gervais is so offensive and so insulting. This thing, it was lame.
Yeah, but in a way that I don't know is somehow cleaner than saying, "Hey, you lost all your hair. You must be preparing for a role." But I don't know if he did that much research, or if you, like you say,
I think
yeah,
he saw the shaved head and the green clothes, and it flashed on him, and he did it
probably.
going up there. I mean, did they not hear him say the word Macbeth during rehearsals, or did he break the rule?
I like how that's where you're really focused on. That's where things went wrong.
Well, what's his name? Denzel Washington knew it. Did you hear what Denzel Washington said to him privately?
To
He
who?
said to him, he said, when you're at your peak, that's when the devil comes to take you.
That's what Will said that Denzel said to him when Will was giving his speech. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is exactly the most perfect summary of that night for
Right.
Will Smith, right?
Well,
You're at your peak. You're winning an Oscar for the thing that you are most proud of your ability to do. Because if you're winning an award for something that you don't really care about, whatever. But if like you think of yourself, if you define yourself as first and foremost, I'm an actor, then you know the night when you win an Oscar is the most important.
Well, he would do well by checking himself into some type of a rehab facility for immediate anger management, just to show that he recognizes that his behavior was absolutely insane.
Correct. That would be the, like, his public. If you were his publicist, that's what you would recommend for sure. Hey, speaking of which, congratulations to a friend of the podcast, Jessica Chastain, for her Oscar.
Oh, yes. And actually,
I've not seen that movie yet.
I have.
But
and I lived in Fort Mill, South Carolina, when Tammy Faye and Jim Baker started Heritage Village. I lived there for all those years that this is about. I was reading the Charlotte Observer about Jim and his homosexual bullshit real time back in the day. And I had held both of them in the lowest of esteem. This movie fixes that wrong notion.
Yep.
Because Tammy Faye actually was quite ahead of her time as a feminist and as a defender and advocate of the queer and gay community.
Yes.
And pressed a lot of people the wrong way, and really did do good. She lavished in riches that were illegally gotten.
Right.
But her husband said that it was all part of the plan. You know, I don't know. But anyway, it turned my eyes open.
Turned your eyes open.
The reality of her. And until Jessica Chastain said as much during her acceptance speech, I had wondered about it and then realized with what fervor she 10 years ago bought the rights to this because she thought this woman's story needed to be told and perceptions of her needed to be fixed.
Nice.
Even more meaningful after that. I'm so glad. In fact, I saw it the night before the Academy Awards, which I kind of didn't know were going on, and then I did. And I said, oh, here they are. And I watched them.
I haven't seen the movie, and I did not see her acceptance speech, but I have listened to. There's this amazing podcast called "You're Wrong About," and it's by millennials, but they go back and they look at these stories that you're sure that you know the narrative of this story. Like they did a series of like 7 shows about the O.J. Simpson trial. But they did another one about, they did one about Tammy Faye Baker, but they've done others about like Lorena Bobbitt and all of those stories that you hear the name and you know what it's about.
Yeah.
Or Monica Lewinsky or those people.
Yeah.
And almost every time it comes out that the women were just not listened to and were assumed to be the culprit of whatever was going on. And so this one about Tammy Faye, Jessica Chastain actually heard that. I don't know if when she bought the rights to make that movie or when she heard about it, but like clearly she was interested in that. And she heard that episode. And then just before, like 5 months ago, before the movie came out, they had her on the show, and they talked about how she had been informed and really moved by because they do this really pretty decent reporting where they go back and they look at how this event happened and how the media took it at the time, or all these things, like the dingo ate my baby, like that lady who like there's a documentary about how she was totally maligned and the media was just terrible.
My baby.
Right, exactly. So there's anyway. So I really want to see that movie because like now you say Tammy Faye Baker and people think, oh, she wore too much makeup. Well, is the thing that people remember.
That's it, though, right?
And but in like at the time, she was actually like she always just liked being made up, even when she was a child. Like that was just a thing that she liked, and it was sort of her way of wanting to be on camera. I don't know.
Well, Jessica Chastain being made up for her over the course of 30 years was a stunning feat.
Well, it won the Oscar.
Yes,
for makeup.
Yes, it did, and for damn good reason. And of course, they thanked her, and said she was the perfect, guinea pig, for us to do what we needed to do. But she did kill it. She nailed it. It was quite. I didn't think I would like it.
Right.
Simply because I didn't think I liked Tammy Faye Baker. I certainly didn't understand her well enough. Apparently.
Right, which is the whole point of this podcast is that if you go back and look at the evidence, you look at Tanya Harding or all of these people that there's an immediate visceral reaction from hearing the name, where you remember what the news narrative was, and actually going back and looking at the people is and seeing what the evidence was at the time is pretty. It's a cool podcast.
Yeah, I think you told me about one that they had done.
I'm sure I have.
I can't remember what the.
Probably OJ.
Think it was, I know. Was it about time travel?
No.
You did send me a podcast about these guys who were, or it was in the show notes. Anyway, I thought
not about time travel, but not this particular one. Although it sort of is about time travel because it's like going back and wronging rights. I was going to say, but that's backwards.
So the trailer came out for the new Nicolas Cage movie, which is hilarious.
That we talked about last week.
It's one of these oddball shows where the actor is playing a version of himself.
Yes, you talked about this last week.
Being John Malkovich, for example.
You got the name wrong, but I looked it up and it's in the show notes.
I always do.
Well, I mean, it is a hard, stupid name. The unbearable weight of massive talent.
Yes.
Which is, what I was going to call this podcast until you joined. So.
Oh, what cutting edge humor you have tonight.
Yes. You can't nick me in a cage. Wait. Yeah. So, but that's not out yet.
No, the trailer's out. And the trailer gives you a glimpse of it, which it's. I already know I have to see it.
Yeah, I appreciate people being able to poke fun at themselves in such a way, like Will Smith can't, But I don't know. Some celebrities are willing to sort of play themselves as the goofy celebrity version of themselves.
Yeah.
But
Well,
speaking of G.I. Jane, you know who's in this movie? Demi Moore.
in which movie?
In the Nick Cage movie.
Oh, really? Ha ha. She owns a home up in Traverse City, Michigan, on the lake.
And as we, just before we got on the horn here, I got a notification that Bruce Willis is retiring. He has some illness that means he can't act anymore.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So
What's the illness, though?
Yeah,
Parkinson's or something like that?
Aphasia. He has a brain disorder called aphasia, which is impacting his cognitive abilities. It's more common than Parkinson's, cerebral palsy, or muscular dystrophy. It affects 2 million Americans. He probably can't think as well as he could before, and I imagine to remember your lines and pretend to be someone else, you have to have a pretty well working brain. So
yeah, I would say.
So pour one out for him.
Well, you know what that calls for? Popping a top for Bruce.
Popping a top for Bruce.
George Killian's. I got a 12-pack for less than $11 on sale.
Well, that's less than one per beer, if my math is correct.
Yeah, I'll say about $5.
Dozen for 11.
Well, let's see. So, what else? Hey, so did you talk about the article I sent you about as I said earlier in episode, while I lived in Florida, monkeys were populated the area where I lived. So talk about this article.
So, okay, I am aware that since literally episode 1, you've been on and on about spider monkeys and monkeys and stuff, and that you like them by the barrel. But I don't specifically recall you saying that when you lived in Florida, there were monkeys. But
a monkey crossed the road that I said might have been a lemur. Or
a lemur.
I probably mispronounced that. It's probably a lemur.
Yes.
Is it lemur?
It is. The Lemur brothers. They couldn't bank very well. And so a monkey crossed the road.
Well, and so at any rate.
And you didn't ask why the monkey crossed the road.
Yeah, I knew why.
Took it to the banana. So, yes, you sent me this article uncovering the So the article was marked as a celebrity gossip article, which I thought was hilarious. But
it should be.
Right, exactly.
Celebrated as celebrities, but an entire community of them.
There's an entire community of monkeys
gathering in the woods
Florida,
outside the airport.
Outside of the airport, that are all descendants from some escaped monkeys from 1940. So that makes sense. It coincides with your timeline. You don't.
Yes. The time frame matched.
The monkeys were there when you were there, and
what airport was this?
I don't recall.
Tampa.
Some Florida airport. What I loved was the woman that was interviewed, named Missy something or other, said, the monkeys just go about their life the way you and I would. And then they cut to the monkeys that are like climbing on top of an SUV and like shoving whatever into their mouths.
Right.
It's like, yeah, just like you and I. Is that the way you live?
Funny. Well, and so it actually jumped out at me as the proof that I knew you needed, because if you listen to that recording, that episode, you held it in utter disbelief. You humored me, but you treated it more like it was a symptom of a larger issue.
I mean, that sounds like me, yes. But, and, this whole enterprise. But so it was the Fort Lauderdale airport is where these guys are. But Florida is so rainforesty that I'm sure, the monkeys are just fine.
Yeah.
And if they don't
the older
mess with
monkey,
the gators.
The older monkey was the original monkey's uncle.
Well, I mean, if his daughter was the mother, that would be true.
Indeed. Yeah. Well,
but yeah, this Missy Williams gal was pretty interesting. She was just talking about, I got into protecting them because, I love animals. Well, here's an excerpt. The entrance to the 16 acres ruled by Mikey, the matriarch, Snow White, and their troop is at the parking lot's rear, sealed by a locked fence. Ooh, sounds exciting. The mangrove trees are thick and the trail muddy, except where it's covered by shallow water. Boy, whoever wrote this, kudos to Terry Spencer.
Let's get her on the show.
From the AP News. Well, how do you know it's a her?
I thought you said her name was what?
Terry.
Oh, I just imagined a girl for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know.
A woman.
In Africa, vervets are eaten by leopards, eagles, and snakes. But in Florida, the dangers are outside the mangroves, mostly cars and trappers who sell them as pets. So stay away from them humans, and you're okay.
Right. They probably got signs up all over the colony, all over the community.
Right.
Team meetings.
With a shape like a men's room man, and then the circle with a cross through it. Like, if you see someone that looks like this, standing on two legs, avoid.
Right. Just like, if it's four leaves, don't pick it. If it's two legs, don't get near it.
We got to run that with picket.
Oh, if
it's two legs, don't mimic it. No.
Don't. Two legs ain't no picnic.
We're going to go to the judges on that one, and accepted. Okay. Well, that joke was borderline, but
borderline. Well, FYI, the weather's taken a turn.
Same here.
We got 3 inches of snow.
Ooh, not same here.
And it was 20 degrees the next day, and I am a slave to my calendar, and I had penciled in that Saturday as fish on, and as planned, I got up at
now it's fish off,
and jumped in the truck and visited the Rogue River in Michigan, just about an hour from here.
In the bad weather.
Grand Rapids. And went to 5 different access spots in search for 2 things. Fishable waters, particularly for my elderly brother who needs slow-moving, shallow water to wade in. I found it.
And a sense of meaning?
Pardon?
And a sense of meaning? What was the second thing?
In wading in the water had to be shallow.
You went in search of 2 things.
Yes, I didn't tell you the second thing yet.
That's why I'm guessing that.
Oh, I see. What did you guess?
A sense of meaning in the world. I mean,
you thought that.
Why would you go to a river?
No.
What are rivers for?
I'm glad I saw an explanation because it's actually pretty funny. But no, but it was a brewery.
Beer was my second guess.
And as it turns out, the fifth and final place near the town where I knew I would end my day, which I knew downtown had the town city brewery.
Yeah.
But I wanted to fish first. So I noticed on the map, on my e-map, that there was a brewery near the river. So I punched it. And not only was the brewery near the river, it was right on the river. And it was a perfect place for me to fish for a while before I went across the street and went to the, I believe it's called.
Wait, did you get, so you ordered a beer?
I didn't catch any fish.
Oh, yeah. You ordered a beer, but then you went back out with your fishing rod.
No, I went right to the river, rigged up my line, went fishing in the current that was there for about 45 minutes, and said it's cold.
You were thirsty at that point, yeah.
And went into a magnificent brewery. I'll send you pictures of all this.
You often say that.
I did a little bit of a travel log. Open pit fires out in the back and a food truck, growing their hops right out in the yard.
Growing their hops.
And serving, I'd say 12 beers, and had a great amber beer that was just luscious.
That's the
music
key to your heart.
Night in the week for a couple hours, evening music. Wide open, brand new building with 3-story high glass windows and an internal glass window. You can see the 2-story.
Boy, you know how to survive, don't you?
Tanks. And anyway, and I found what I needed at the river. I ran into a guy. I'll send you a picture. He'll be famous now. He caught a 2-foot long steelhead, which is what I was looking for, and told me exactly where to go, which I did. But I got my line tangled up so much, and it was so fucking cold that I actually fished for about 45 minutes, but 30 minutes of that was spent tying new line because I kept getting hooked up in the trees and in the roots. And every time, you're at light line, you got 6-pound test line. So if you yank it very much and snap it to try to loosen the hook on a branch, it's not like the branch is going to come with you. So I had to re-rig one time, almost crotch deep in moving river water, because I had waited to the perfect spot and I busted everything off. So I had to tie it on in the moving water, which is no fun. And it was cold. It was 22 degrees.
You've been saying that, yes.
Windy, blowing. And so, the river looked beautiful, though. Just beautiful.
Okay. So there was a positive. I was going to say,
I loved it. I loved it. And the dude who caught the fish.
So you caught 0 fish?
Huh?
You caught 0 fish?
Yeah, 0. Didn't even hook one. But I did fish. And I'd say this in all seriousness. It was more of a scouting trip. It was too cold and too early in the season to catch much.
Yeah, it sounded to me like you were fishing in air quotes. I
was fishing, not catching.
That's so true, man.
That's why they call it fishing. But I went to the access point.
Because if you caught everything, they would call it catching, wouldn't they?
They would. But I went to the access point nearest where the Rogue River empties into the huge Grand River. And because it's a tributary and a feeder of the Grand, and quite a source of the beginning lives of trout.
Wait, are there rapids later near Grand Rapids, or is that another place?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, there's so
that is the Rio Grande, so to speak.
Yes.
Okay.
And so the water that I found was so wadeable, and 3/4 of it was on a golf course, so there was no woods to try to tromp through or wading for a half a mile and whoosh, 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 whoosh in knee-deep water Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Oh my God, it gets tiring.
You had the hazard stakes right there to tell you where the water started.
Right. There were no stakes, actually. So they probably take them down every winter, though, because it decays the wood so bad. But
Right.
at any rate, had a great time and found
Is it just
the thing
you
I
by
also-
yourself out there
Yes.
being in your own world?
Just me out and, prepped everything and took a lunch and had a couple of beers, which I actually didn't drink because I went to the brewery instead.
Do you enjoy that?
But
Do you enjoy that time being in your own thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. It's a total, it's just me and whatever's going on around me. There's nothing else.
You don't
Because
think
I'm in the
about
moment.
why your wife is mad or why the next project you have to do is due
Why
or
did you
anything
hear
like
she
that.
was mad?
Well, I mean, I know
Why
you.
wouldn't she
So.
be? That's what you mean to say. Why wouldn't she be all the time? She's married to you. Why wouldn't she be mad all the time? What is there something about you that she knows that I don't know? Of course. Yeah. Fine.
No, but no. My question stands. You're not thinking about your daily problems.
No.
You're there
I'm
with the
thinking
birds
I'm
and the
thinking
whooshing of the water and
about this knot I'm trying to tie in my line with 6-pound test that's the size of a thread with 22-degree numb fingers that feel like I'm working with stones instead of fingers. My fingers have turned to stone. They were so cold.
Can you comprehend that might not seem like fun to other people?
Yes, they're uninformed. So here's a fun thing. So I finally got the drift I wanted in between these two patches of snag material, and shot it in there, rolled the line in, kind of wigged it sideways to get it into the right spot, which I finally did right.
You got to wig it
a bunch of times, and then I hit a log.
Wait, hold on. You got to get wiggy with it.
Wiggy. You got to get wiggy with it. Oh boy. Oh boy, I wish I hadn't said that. Back to that again.
Okay, sorry.
I'm not even going to mention it. So when I broke off that time, that was about the 5th time I broke off, and I was tired and cold, and I said, you know what? I've seen enough. This is a great spot, but I don't. I'm too cold to be able to hit this the way I need to. So this time the line broke right at the fly line, so my green fly line was laying loose at the end of my pole.
Your fly's open.
As I started to walk home, I got back to the truck, and what there was a half a pole and 6 foot of green fly line lying on the ground. Somewhere in the walk back, the top part of my pole hooked onto a branch, and I kept on walking. So I was missing half of a $250 fishing pole. So I immediately thought, well, I just dropped it. So
this goes back to how present you are in the moment that I was asking before.
So it's not at that moment. So it took me 3 trips all the way back to, a point when I had been in the woods and checked the end of the line because it was snagged and knew I had both poles. So I didn't have to go all the way back, about halfway. And 3rd trip back, I found it. It was 4 foot off the ground, stuck in a green bush. And since it's a green fishing pole, it was pretty hard to spot. That was funny.
That was good. North Pole and South Pole. This week, I have. It's been 13 years that I have been a father. My daughter turned 13.
Whoa, teenager.
And. And yes. So teenagers, so far from my experience, she seems so mature and grown up, and we can talk about like politics and stuff, but then she just makes the worst decisions when it comes to like who to hang out with or whether or not to do assignments or I don't know. It's very like it's clear that
Awkward.
there's a lot of intelligence there, but the brain is still developing. All of those what
halfway
ifs.
there.
Right, exactly. So all of that,
Exactly halfway there, actually.
all of that, like forward thinking of, well, if I make this decision, what will happen in the future? That just isn't happening or something. I don't know.
Right. Well, I liken it to people who they consider that when you throw a pebble into the middle of a pond that there's no ripples.
I've heard this from you, yes. Yeah, like it's just going to go bloop and go right in.
Right.
Sort of like someone that would, I don't know, go up on stage and slap someone. Like just thinking that there will be no consequences. It's like, what?
What?
I know, right? So also she went out and invited some friends out to the cinema, as we call it here, the movie theater. And they watched a movie that I have since found and started watching called The Protege. And it's this super tired trope of this old assassin spy guy adopts a young girl and teaches her all of the ways to be a killer. Like there's so many movies that are like that, but I don't know. This one's pretty predictable, but also kind of fun that I'm enjoying. It stars the old guy is Samuel L. Jackson, who received an honorary Oscar this past week
for a life achievement, I believe.
Yeah, but it's like a separate ceremony. Like they don't bother the really famous people. There's like a separate little side thing.
It was
governor
by the governors.
Yeah, something like that.
And it was presented by Denzel Washington, I believe.
Correct. And let's see. And also Michael Keaton is in the movie. And he's looking pretty good for whatever age he is. But, and also I started watching another Samuel L. Jackson thing on Apple TV Plus, which is a thing you don't have, but it's where all of the tech sphere after the Oscars were all excited about how Apple with Apple TV Plus is the first streaming service to win the Best Picture award.
Yes.
Which, whatever. But it's called something about Ptolemy Gray. The history of Ptolemy Gray or something like that.
Oh, right.
Where it's Samuel L. Jackson as just this old dude that is sort of a belligerent old man. You can find a mirror if you want to find one of those, but I've seen 2 episodes of that and it seems okay. But
do you see the commercials there with him and Charles Barkley and
You've mentioned Charles Barkley commercials before, but no, I do not see. I rarely see commercials, but this particular weekend I was sitting on the sofa with my in-laws, and they were watching some TV show where in Spain there's like it's like 45 minutes of TV, and then there's like 14 minutes of commercials
in between.
And not necessarily interspersed. I mean, some interspersed, but for sure there's a moment where you're going to have 9 minutes of commercials ahead of you.
So get up and fold the laundry.
Yeah, get up and do something. Yeah. So I have seen some commercials, and I don't know, the Spanish commercials aren't that interesting. The American commercials are way more, edgy. I was going to say they're more funny, but they very much think they're more funny.
Well, yeah, they're both
because
pretty
there's an awful lot of like humor where the people acting like seem to think that they're being super funny in a way that they really aren't. But no, you have mentioned Charles as a commercial person before. Oh, speaking of American television, how about that North Carolina Final Four?
Oh man, it's the first time they've ever played.
I know. I have some. There's a podcast I listen to where they talk about North Carolina sports, college sports for some reason, a lot, and they're super excited about this particular matchup and how it's either a double nail in Krzyzewski's coffin, or it is a he comes out of he's resurrected from
make no mistake about it. UNC is going to wish they hadn't won that game at Cameron. They're going to wish they hadn't won it
because you think that Duke is going to be so freaking motivated.
This is the single heaviest motivator that is possible. It is the revenge. One
more
UNC
than
player,
even more than the this is the final game of our coach.
Yes, much more so.
Okay,
much more so. But you can't separate the two. A UNC player was quoted the day after they won the game and said that thing that they did at Duke for their coach was over the top. Talk about what is going up on the fucking bulletin board. Overdone for their coach. They are this may be, we'll see how the refs do. This is likely to be the most physical game we've seen in the NCAA to date, and we've seen some physical shit.
I wonder if it's not really possible to measure, but if there's some point where being so fucking motivated to win is actually lowers your
you're blind to your shortcomings. That's why they have an entire team of coaches.
Right. Yeah. Right. But like, can you want to win so much that like all your best players end up fouling out of the game because they're just so fucking motivated that they want to destroy it? Right.
I think that they coach against that without a doubt.
For sure. But like, I don't know. I'm just hypothecalating.
So when is that game?
It's this weekend sometime.
Is it Friday or Saturday?
For me, weekend is Saturday and Sunday. I think it's, well, I don't know. Viewers can, Hey, speaking of viewers.
Speaking of viewers.
Those of you that are giving us Patreon money at the gin martinis level can like watch me and Dennis make faces at each other and stuff.
What?
Yeah. We're the video is being recorded, so all of that.
Did you send me
all that nipple play you were doing before was really?
It's all there.
It's high def.
Did you send me something that showed me what it looked like?
No, I haven't. But
you showed me something that said this is what it's like. You were talking about Zemcast.
No. That we were briefly toying with publishing transcripts, but we decided we do not need any of this bullshit in writing.
Way too much work. Much work.
So, but yeah, if for all of you that go to patreon.com/happyhour, you can give extra money.
I got to close with a bitch story. So Tuesday night at the Old Dog, where I go all the time for my
Tuesday night at the Old Dog
music down there, they have an open mic night that I've gone to, and I liked it. The guy who led the thing was a guitar player, good skill, and I've heard them play a couple of guitar tunes. I thought, I'd like to play. So I thought it was at 5:00, and as it turns out, it was 6. So I showed up down there way too early, like 4:30, and ended up talking to the guy and had a beer and met another guitar player that I played with a little bit in the band that I really like, and had a great couple of beers just talking to people. Then I thought, well, I'll go across the street to Bell's and eat some wings, and then I'll come back. And as I said to him, I said, I'd love to play a little blues harp with you when you open tonight. And he said, oh, you're going to stick around? I said, yeah, I'll be back. And so I go grab some wings, come back, and he starts about 10 minutes late, about 10 after 6. And he's opens up with some, kind of almost a Bob Singer railroad song, which was interesting. Yeah. And after a minute or two, he said, hey, Dennis, why don't you come up? That's all right. So I bring my stuff up, and he says, what do you got? I'm going to play something in the key of C. What harp do you have for that? And I said, well, I got an F harp. He said, all right, let's go with that. And when I blew it, he realized he was out of tune. And I said, well, as long as you play by yourself, no one would notice.
That's so true.
Because you're a musician. And he said, hey, that's right. And then he said, to be funny to the crowd, he said, I sounded good until this guy showed up, which was pretty funny, I thought.
Which was true. Like that's a good joke that is sort of right. Well, it's not that insulting to you, but
no, not at all. Good joke, really. And because I'm not out of tune, and right, so he found it, and he said, "How about something Johnny Cash kind of?" And I said, "Oh, sure, I'm ready to go with that." And so
if you can play between C sharp and D, I mean, like if he's out of tune, how can you play with him? Oh, he tuned it. Okay.
Minutes. He took minutes and tuned it.
Okay.
And then he said, okay, I'm ready to go. And instead of singing a Johnny Cash song, he took a song that Cake did that is a particular tune, a particular melody, and the words are about sitting in a car and his baby's got to be next to him, and you can't have a console in it, and consoles are not for him. And it's this funny song, but instead of singing it like they sing it, he makes up a tune that is kind of frantic, almost like it could have been, if it was more controlled, it could be a Johnny Cash-like, simple tune, but instead he was kind of all over the map. I had a hell of a time trying to play harp to it. And to make matters worse, he had the lyrics for one song, playing it to another song, and he never stopped playing. And at no point did he kind of turn over to me and say, take it away, Dennis. And so let me play a little bit.
Yeah.
And he got done, and I kind of looked at him, and I went, and he said, thank you. And I said, well, whatever. And then this other guy walked up, and he said, hey, let's do this, to this other guitar player. And he said, oh, yeah, let's do that. And I said, what do you got? And he said, we're going to do this and that, Mary Jane, and we're going to do it in A minor. And I said, oh, A minor is rough for me.
Yeah.
A major I can handle right off the bat because it's just off a little bit. And he said, okay. And but then they just played it anyway. And because I was off, I put my harp down and went out and drank my beer.
Yep.
And he as I was walking off the stage, he said, what's up? I said, I can't play in a minor. And he said, okay, next time. So then as soon as the song was over, they did a nice job, really nice. A good applause. I went up and I said, okay. And and this time the drummer who was drumming for the crazy Cake song and the Johnny Cash sound alike had picked up a guitar, and he said, oh, you want to do this? He said to the other guitar player. And I said, what key? And he said, oh no, this that we don't need you for this. We'll get you for the next one. And I said, well, he said, I don't have a third mic. And I said, I don't need a mic. I said, just give me the right key.
Right.
And he said, G. And I said, okay, I'll stand back here. And as it turned out, it was a dual guitar thing that had no room really for a harmonic at all. So the second time in a row, I set my harp down, went out, I went to drink my beer. And they get done. They did a really nice job on this song. Very clever. They sang it together. They obviously know each other a long time. And I came up, and as I came up to try it one more time, I had to leave by 7, and I'd been there. I'd waited for an hour and a half. I'd been there waiting since 6 to actually play. And so I started to get up, and he introduced this other guitar player who started immediately into some kind of jazzy jam, which sounded fine. And I realized that I wasn't going to play.
Yep.
And so I started like packing up my harps, and the guy comes down the staircase and pats me on the back, like, nice job, man, or whatever. And I wanted to say, what the fuck? So on the way out, the owner of the bar, who's I know and talk with her, and she said, well, are you leaving? And she said, did you play? I said, well, no, I didn't. And
Not
she
really.
said, well, why not? And I said, well, because they didn't play anything that I could play with them. I said, that's all right. And she said, oh, now you got to go. I said, yeah. But I felt bad, I felt kind of jerky. Like, what the fuck? I mean, you got an open mic night, and you invite me up, and then you act like I'm fucking invisible.
Yeah. So, I stopped recording about 25 minutes ago. So all of that where you thought you were important, we're going to cut that. So
we're going to cut it. If you didn't record it, you won't be doing any cutting, will you?
Well, actually.
Good point.
Good evening, my fair harp strummer. Strum a harp.
Ciao, baby. Next time.
All right. Leave it open. Okay, that does it for episode number 148. You can find the show notes, all the links to the things we talked about at happyhour.fm/148. And if you'd like to help us make this show and get access to that sweet, sweet video content, you can go to patreon.com/happyhour. We would love all your donations. And we'll see you next week.